Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I wanted to do a video about a book I picked up from the local library. It's called The World According to Color, A Cultural History by James Fox. This book is, it's a lot of things. So I want to show you the table of contents, and this book was published this year, so it is very new. And it's an introduction, and then each sort of 30-page section is a different color. So there's a section about black, red, yellow, blue, white, purple, green, and then a little sort of summary. This book is fascinating. I can't with this book. It's so good. So the first part is a bit of an introduction to sort of what color is and how we perceive it scientifically. So, and it's only about 14 pages, but it goes into how we see these colors. So my favorite takeaways from this section were that, color can be objective and subjective. And to figure out how color happens, it's on the electromagnetic spectrum between ultraviolet and infrared. And it's a radiation that is visible to us. Now, this visible light is responsible for every color that we have ever seen. And it goes further to break down into like photons. Basically, most substances reflect or transmit wavelengths of light and absorb others. It then goes into rod cells, which can be found in our eyes, and humans have 3 classes of cones in our eyes, and each cone is sensitive to a different color wavelength, and they don't actually become color till our brain finishes interpreting them. So this is a very oversimplified version of what the author has written and broken down here. It is complicated and very scientific, but it is so incredibly fascinating. So like shortwave, middle length, long length cones, and what colors those pick up. And the second sort of portion of this beginning sort of introduction chapter talks about how color helps our brain understand like when to wake up, when to go to bed, what food to buy, emotions to feel, and like our general psychological association. Like what we think of when we see a color or hear somebody talking about a color. It's our association with it. So I'm not going to break down this entire book, because I don't have that kind of time. It is over 250 pages, but I wanted to talk about just one color and give you kind of a snippet so you know what to expect. So the introduction is very, very scientific, and then it goes into the colors, but there's another section in here, and I guess I should give a trigger warning. There is some nudity in some of the art that is used for plate examples when referencing the colors. But there are 2 sections of plates that give very specific examples of the color being referenced and talked about in art history, which is great to be able to sample that and look towards that. And I'm just going to sort of show you the photographs real quick. Here's some of the nudity. If that makes you uncomfortable, I apologize. It's just absolutely fascinating. So the color I want to talk about is purple. And that one starts on page 167, I believe, if I have things memorized. All right. So purple. And this is where it goes into the cultural history. So this is a huge historical sort of book about all these different pigments. And just to give you like a little portion of a little synopsis of and about purple. So this, the beginning portion of this chapter sort of delves into a very specific time period between 1774 and 1849, and there was a lot going on around the world during this time frame. But in the 18th century, chemistry began to shake up millennia of old dyeing recipes. So by the middle of the century, European chemists had made almost every color on the spectrum, and these new colors that were being made with chemistry were brighter, purer, and a majority of them were less expensive. So purple, because of its natural scarcity, and if you look and read about purple on Wikipedia, it'll talk about snails and things. The color became associated with technology and decadence. So civilizations were built literally around this color. And in ancient Mesopotamia, dye was made with shellfish, which is a mollusk, and about 9,000 to 10,000 mollusks were needed to make a single gram of dye. So this was the beginning of Tyrian purple, and it was incredibly expensive. It was twice the price of gold. And the author puts this price in perspective, writing that a 4th century farm laborer would have to work flat out for 24 years to purchase a handful of silk dye. So, I mean, this covers the history. It has like the fall of Constantinople. It then goes into Europe and chemists and their jobs and how they went about using coal to manufacture it. Basically, coal was a thing people could not get rid of. It was a byproduct of a bunch of stuff, and chemists began experimenting with it. I can't. Like, it goes into the battle for magenta, which is absolutely fascinating. And, you know, talking about mauve and looking at some of these colors, there's such a huge history on the colors and pigments. I did a history of weird pigments last year, like last November, December, and I turned that into a playlist. It's about 9 videos if you want to listen while I'm doodling around. And each video is a different color. And in my video, I talk about Han purple, which is magic, and you're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. But this really talks about all the chemistry, all the people that were doing the patenting, and how violet became a huge, it became a huge thing. And the people at the pre-Raphaelites, like, so good. It's so good. I don't want to, like, you know, talk about his whole book and, you know, not for you not to have a reason to go pick this up. So this is what I'll say. If you are on a limited income or on a tight budget, or you're doing a low buy, or you're doing a no buy art supply like I am, check out your local library, get a library card, and then ask them what their purchasing or recommendation process is for picking up new books if they don't already have this book in their collection. It is fascinating. It is sort of a mashup of science meets history, meets the history of how all these pigments were created. And it has like snippets of what people and different artists have said about the colors. And there's really interesting quotes. Like, this book is absolutely thorough. And like I said, it's about 30 pages per color. And I just wanted to share like just the beginning snippet of what purple is and what this author talks about, but it is so good. And just the notes and the references that went into this, can we just appreciate like an author doing their research and doing their work and putting this together? And then the further reading section is absolutely fascinating. It's really, really interesting. So if you enjoy history, this was a fascinating read of different ways of looking at how these different artists put together art, because they had to wait for light, fast colors to be invented. You know, Prussian blue, it took a while. It took a gentleman in Germany to put that together and create that color. So I will also link a video I did about wedding dresses around the world, because different colors mean different things around the world. So I will link a bunch of my videos if you are curious and want to fall down that rabbit hole of the history of some really unusual pigments. But if you enjoy reading history, this book is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And it has tales and stories from all over the world that are just very captivating. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.